Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stone-Faced Reactions. I'm Theta, and we are back with, well, Crest of the Stars slash Banner of the Stars. We're doing the rankings. If you haven't been for one of these rankings before, we break down the characters into S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, F tier, based on 5 different criteria. 1. Distinctive personality. 2. Compelling backstory. 3. Iconic visual design. 4. Emotional resonance. 5. Significant character development. Each one of these categories gets a score from 1 to 10, meaning that any character has a minimum score chance of, say, 5 and a maximum score chance of 50. This, of course, is in the um, solo rankings. When, say, Lessons and I do it, it's obviously lowest score chance of 10, highest 100. Math is easy. I think we can all figure this out. Now, I've gone through and I've given everybody a score, as you can see here on the board. Sorry, realized I was zoomed in a bit for some reason. There we go. Normally, I would hide it or I would go through one by one individually to show you on there. But I've done all this earlier. I've messed up a couple of times in recording. Nope, did it again. There we go. And otherwise, I just decided I'm going to show you everything at once. But I will give you my reasoning behind each character so that you know. And then at the end, maybe I'll zoom in and then I'll run over so you can see exactly where each character is. Um, First off, though, we have Lala Shangal. Medium to high marks across the board. Among the primary characters of the show, no one else looks like her. I have often stated that this is to the detriment of her story, what the animation team does to show her off, but the score is related to being iconic and not so much good. At the very least, the near offensive things that the camera does with her only serves to remind me of her backstory and to get upset on her behalf about the pervy things being done to her by the cameraman. As far as emotional resonance, the more the plot develops and you understand the threat she is under, the more you feel for her position. As far as her character development, she goes from just another one of the hostile forces in the third season to the one getting all the support. Not a massive change to who she was, but it does help express another side of her personality. We have then Mikay Angusson. Mikay stands out amongst the characters of the story, though is fairly generic in media as a whole. He is an archetype, if you will. I scored him highest for personality and visual design. His backstory is fairly bland, but it does exist, so had to give him median scores there. Ultimately, his goals and passion for them didn't really resonate with me, and he essentially stays the person he was when he was introduced, all the way to his death. Then we have Tomasof. Tomasof's only interesting factor to me was when he found the communications device nowhere near where we saw it taken from Jinto. Beyond that, he was just an ordinary loyal guard that was higher up the food chain. That Meideen trusted him enough to send him out to protect the locations was certainly a thing, but if you dropped him into a scene, he could have easily been any other nameless blue uniformed guard. Next up, Yuuri Dokufu. By the way, these aren't in any order. Don't worry about that. I should have. Just another mistake. Let it ride. Yuuri Dokufu. Yuuri was a snake, one of the few in the show, cocky and underhanded, but self-aware and wanting to survive more than he wanted his ego stroked, which made him a fairly unique personality. Unfortunately, he essentially has little backstory, and if you dropped him off on any other planet, he'd look like just some other guy. Like, he wears normal ass clothes. In his final moments, he showed a little bit of development, and I think that's what saved him from dropping lower in the scores. Speaking of Meideen, Geol Meideen. My boy Meideen. As much as I like him, I gotta say he doesn't have a lot going on for him in the categories I chose to score everyone on. He's got no real backstory that everyone else doesn't share, and his visuals aren't that much better than the guards around him. What saves him is his slow burn to becoming a guy that wants to do the right thing, even for people that he thinks are wrong. Sacrificing his safety in the end to make sure those people got off the planet made him very emotionally resonant. The next two people are people that I hated. Nefee of Bebaus, Alon, Nerem. I hate this guy and his brother. I felt like their personal stories took away from the elements of the show that I wanted to follow. I have to admit that his exasperation towards his brother is distinctive enough to put him over other characters, and the concept of genetic insanity is a background element. Otherwise, they look like most other high-level OB Star Force members, and while they travel from one end of a season to another, I feel like they don't really develop as people at all. And of course, his brother, Nereis of Bebaus Alon Nerem. This guy is just patent in space. Otherwise, all the same feelings I had for his brother apply to him. I'd probably say he was the more annoying one of the two, though. Then we got Kotokeil. He showed up on a call once. Otherwise, I don't know anything else about him off the top of my head. He got voice lines, and he dresses like the rest of the OB Star Forces, so that's something. We got Guen Tauron, the ambassador of Hanya, something I thought would pay off more once we got to Banner 3. Turns out his scene was one and done. It expressed a greater state of play going on, but otherwise the character comes across as just a mouthpiece for that possible story I was expecting. He's got a rather unique appearance that I enjoyed. Otherwise, he was a middle-of-the-road character. Next up, Duchess Letopanyu, the Duchess Spore, one of the top 3 OB military officers in the show, in my opinion. The lowest I could have possibly ranked her in was development, and even then, that was above average. Having seemingly learned a bit of humility come Banner 2, that is. Despite wearing the same uniform as the rest of the OB military wears, the camera and animations knew how to accentuate her in the ways that only Lala knows about. Otherwise, she is one of the few characters that doesn't spend a lot of time with our mains that we get to learn a lot about across the entire series. We have Kahyul. I just realized that sounds like Kyle. I wonder if that's intentional. Anyway, not much to say about Kahyul other than I enjoyed him being a foil to Trife, specifically in Banner 2. Otherwise, his appearances are only to give Trife someone to verbalize against. I miss his odds readings from early on. I can't remember if it was Crest or Banner 1. I want to say Crest. Anyway, he used to do that thing there, and then it went back and forth between him and Trife on Trife's adventurous moods, let's say. I apologize about some of these names. The full-on OB names are a bit hard to just speed through. Because we have now Shidoryua, Boruju, Seez. He's a prime minister that talked to the ambassador of Hanya. They minced few words, and that's all, really. At best, he had a unique uniform. We have Lafiel's dad. For a guy whose name I feel like I must have missed at some point, this guy makes the rounds with very few on-screen appearances. He not only has a distinctive personality as a character, even among the OB, he feels very unique. His backstory with Lafiel and Lexu was fun and delightful. His teaching Lafiel about how not to cry but still feeling it resonated with me. Despite getting like 4 scenes across the series, he goes on this journey of duty, acceptance, and educates his kids. He really is a great example of doing a lot with a little time. We have Ramaj. Ramaj? Yeah, that's how you say it. The Ab Empress also has about 2 real scenes across the entire run of the show. Beyond her rank, not much really stands out about her beyond the not gonna take any shit conversation she has with the Sicily Alliance. Still, that was a pretty great scene, and it pushed her scores up where she might have just remained mediocre without it. We got Alanga. He's a united humankind. Sorry, I don't know where humankind came from. He's a united mankind soldier, one of the few with talking ports. I am just fucking up tonight. Whatever. Leave it in. We're going live. There isn't much to discuss other than the fact that he has a different uniform than the ones we see across the rest of the show. Other than that, he's a bit part in a larger story. Alright, following him, we have Rulef. Didn't even realize he was the guy the fleet was named for until the narrator said it. No talking role, dressed like everyone else, not his fault, but this is where he is. Kotoponi. Same thing I said about Rulef, except I noticed her first. Kenesh. Same as the last two, bonus point for having nicer hair. Kufadis, Wef, Espiel, Sespy. Kufadis was the Jinto on the Duchess's ship. He was our point of view character for everything that Duchess would do, and was subjected to a much more direct, if not flirty, Ob commander than Lafiel would ever be. His backstory felt more implied than given, and he otherwise looks like the rest of the Ob star forces. Holia. Holia is a cat that we never see in the present, but was used by Lafiel's dad to perpetrate a funny hoax about who her mother was. All the cats are great. Holia is only hurt by being present in just a flashback. Daiho. Jinto's cat. Daiho is the cat that goes on the largest journey of all the animals. He gets used as an emotional tie between multiple characters and is present for at least one of the tragedies. If an anthro version of the show ever got made, I feel like he would be the main character. We have Selkirka, Lafiel's cat, and one we are only introduced to at the very end of the show. Daiho hooks up with her, and they have kittens together, but she doesn't want Daiho to get too close. It's a funny, if not brief, dynamic between our animal companions. We got sorry, that's not how you say that. Nastoria. Nastoria suffers under the barely there shadow of Kahyul, which is to say, they and all the other officers of the Keldij lack any character agency after their first appearance, and Kahyul gets all the conversations with Trife from then on. Shuril. Same as Nastoria, but better hair. Personal choice. My list. Trife. Trife is another of the admirals that I put on the same bucket as the Duchess. I feel like he gets less screen time and less talk about his own history. He also doesn't flirt with his second in command. What he does have is an adventurer's spirit and a sense of fun that makes him stand out in the few scenes he does get. There's also just something about his outfit and the way he moves around with gusto that makes me give him a couple of extra style points. Makrit Talas. Makrit was a short-lived but enjoyable comedic foil of a planetary governor. He was essentially a politician trying to take a negative situation and turn it into a political positive for his future, and was confused that the Ob didn't appear to understand how politics worked. He didn't outlast his welcome, did what he needed to do for the story, and then was gone. He was a perfect side character. We have Duchess. There isn't much to say about Lafiel's brother. He only gets one real scene, and I feel like that is meant to juxtapose his confusion about the future against his father's choices and wisdom. I feel like if the show had gone on further, this is someone that would appear later and would have given more consideration. Didn't happen, so can only work with what was given. Next up, we have Atto Surya, Clowal's surviving sister that goes from being a revenge concern to a great commander and relationship. The episode where they all celebrate the anniversary with a dinner and just talk about stuff was one of the best episodes of Banner 1. She carries that episode easily. Then going on to develop her presence at the very end as a commander over the other side characters of the Star Forces, further developing her from who she was in Banner 1 to Banner 3. She was one of the few unexpected treats from Season 2. Sample Sangalini. It's not often that you get a character representing Mikhail Gorbachev, but there you go. This ambassador doesn't do much and has to take second fiddle to the Empress's performance. We have Intruria. He is your basic out-of-place detective, except he feels like he should be in a noir novel and not a sci-fi space epic. Nevertheless, he feels unique in the space he occupies, and through his efforts to be the good guy operating under the bad guy's purview, he feels like someone whose story you want to follow. We have Yuuri. Sorry, I didn't say that right at all. Yuuri. One of Lexu's doomed crew members. Beyond messing up my early considerations for what the show would be, see my early episode guesses, the primary thing I remember about her was her relationship with Desh, and they're holding hands right at the end. We have Saruish. Some of these names, man, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best, I swear. It's also been almost a year since the last time I heard them. Another member of Lex Shu's crew. Unfortunately, this far out, unless they did something to stand out personally, they get lumped in with the heroics and the amazingness of everything that Gosroth did, without any notes of their own. Next up is Laria. Same thing I just said about Sarush. And Desh. Same thing I just said about Laria, except for the Yuuri standout, which is that they were in a relationship and they were holding hands right at the end. Little things like that can be huge in the pan back. We got Abriel Dusanyu, fourth prince of the Abriel line, and just as annoying as the two insane brothers. I expected great things when I saw him in the first episode of the first season. Banner 1 ruined anything I may have expected from him. He gives nepotistic authority to the brothers to control the fleet operations, then spends the rest of his time phoning in his concerns that his second in command may have had a thing for one of the brothers. Otherwise, he doesn't do anything. Much like before, being annoying is a personality trait, so I can't ignore him score-wise. Alright, then we got Rina Lin. She vanished at the start of the show, then reappeared at the end of it. Not much to say beyond the fact she looks like she's from the wrong century. We have Kyrie. A completely unexpected character arc from Crest. This guy had me guessing and trying to figure out the world building and what he was up to the entire time. Right up till his reveal, which I wouldn't have guessed, mostly because I couldn't have. He certainly develops from a completely reasonable, if not rash, character to someone who's completely unhinged. As far as antagonists of the series go, he might just be one of my faves. We are at Lexu, Lafiel's mom, taken from us all too soon. The Battle of the Gosroth is hers, and she carries half the first season on her shoulders. Her relationship with Lafiel is something that her dad would have to later go on to carry on his own. Her death sparked so much of the show's relationship ties between Lafiel and Jinto, and also deepened my interest in those characters' relationships as well. Regardless of what the score might be, one of the best characters of the show. Next up, we have Guillermo Muria. Same thing I just said about Laria. Sorry, some of these notes are essentially the note is I have no notes. Abriel Lafiel. I mean, what is there to say about Lafiel? She's one of the two main characters of the show, and the show mostly revolves around her. And there's also her relationship with Jinto as the universe seems to turn around them. The show is worse when it looks away from them, as their their interactions and history make the show as good as it is. Lafiel's distance at the start and development to someone that opens up and expresses themselves, traveling with Jinto to become the person that they want to be, that is when the show is at its best, and it couldn't do that without her. Dorin Ku. Not 100% sure that Jinto's best memories of Dorin are not imaginary. His appearance in Banner 3 was a bit of a surprise, but even that wavers back and forth from that guy who just walked away at the spaceport to the guy that was then suddenly hugging Jinto. You could tell me that Dorin was just a fragment of Jinto's imagination, and I'd believe it. Alright, we got Sobash. Sobash has a bit of a journey on her hands, going from the pilot of two of Lafiel's ships to the captain of her own. She has the least development of Lafiel's crew, I feel like, but also the missed opportunity of that Samson connection that I thought was happening, but then never did. Speaking of which, next up is Samson. I realize I'm saying Samson with a P sound, and his name is Samson. So, sorry about that. I'd say that Samson gets the most development of all of Lafiel's crew. He hangs out in public spaces, getting drunk and having conversations about the past. He hangs out with the rest of the crew to discuss things that are current to the story, and is typically the active one when the rest of the background crew are incapacitated. He's the one that begs Lafiel to go back after Jinto in Banner 2, and eventually becomes Jinto's vassal in Banner 3. I just wish he had wound up with Sobash like I thought he would. Now we have Ikuria. Ikuria is a mystery to me. She's kind of pushed herself into a love triangle with Jinto, even though she knows she isn't going to get between him and Lafiel. She's quiet most of the time, then suddenly becomes expressive and foul-mouthed in Banner 3, all the while wanting exciting and dangerous stuff to happen. If she didn't happen to be on our side this whole time, her reserved nature and kinda creepy backstory would have me believe that she was secretly a killer. I think if you go back to her, like, weird cat backstory from, what was it, Banner 1? And then look at who she is in Banner 3, or her backstory in Banner 3, it makes sense. Jinto Lin. Jinto is the main character of the show, so obviously we are constantly dealing with his backstory and development as he goes from being that kid staring up at the stars to somewhat ironically becoming someone that wishes that they could go home. He is also our point of view character, letting us know how the galaxy works by learning it alongside us. He feels like a teenage everyman, so that it's easy to get into his shoes and feel what he is feeling, even though sometimes he waxes philosophical about his place in the universe and what he means to other people. Undertaker. When we first met him in the show, I was just entertained that his given name was Undertaker, as we had just been watching the show 86, this channel, I mean, where Undertaker is the main character's call sign. In 86, I mean. Otherwise, this guy is sort of our obnoxious character. I wrote character relief. I meant blah. What the hell did I mean? comedy relief, I think is what I meant. He's obnoxious, but he's like comical background. Like he's getting into arguments with his own guys. That's what I'm trying to imply. Uh, of the people that tried to take Jinto and Lafiel hostage in order to get a ship, they turn good guys by the end and try to help out, but in the long view of things, kind of feel unremarkable in the long run. We have Deswani, another of the hostage taker crew, and one of the two that I remember the least. We got Min, the second most memorable hostage taker. I remember Min more so for the fact that he was the rich guy with the mansion and the penchant for weapons that supplied their group with what they needed. It was something at least, elevating him above the others of his group. We got Bill. With the hostage takers, I at least knew that Deswani was the big strong guy. I have no recollection of what Bill's role in the group was, or if he even had anything that made him unique. Alright, we have Seelne. While she wasn't the leader of Klowal's serving girls, she would go on to become the leader of the rebellion against him, and then the company those girls formed after the fact. She has a pretty significant growth as a character from subservience to independence, from fangirl to, well, more independent fangirl. If you don't remember, she fangirls for Lafiel, or I guess the Abriels as a whole, maybe. We have Gorita. The problem here is either the show or my memory, as nearly all the development I remember from Klowal's girls comes from Seelne. Rita takes part in the fight and joins the company after the fact, but lacks any real significant development to make her stand out fully, for me at least. Elisa. Everything I just said about Greta applies to Elisa as well. Rock Lin. Jinto's dad measures up to Lafiel's dad in absolutely no way. We know that he was so absent that Teal had to take care of Jinto. He gets pulled away in the first episode to be educated by the Ob for his new position, and later gets killed off screen without ever having talked to Jinto. If not for his connection to the main character, Rock would essentially be nobody. Klowal. The thing about Klowal is, to me, he became so much more interesting after he died. He kind of felt like a creep when he was alive and in focus on the screen, but in the next season, when his sister starts talking about him and his death, humanizing the guy that seemed to collect women and died drifting in space forever, he became more than the horrible stereotype character that he seemed to be. Next up we have Caspia, Klowal's best girl, also the one that remained loyal to him. For that reason, she stands out ever so slightly against everyone that just followed Seelne. We got Ragish. Ragish stands beside Lexu in my mind as iconic Ab captains that sacrificed everything for the mission. The episode he appeared in stands side by side in my mind with the Battle of the Gosroth. His sacrifice will not soon be forgotten, even if he had little to no long-term effect on the show. Teal. Fuck Teal. Marka, the leader of the hostage-taking group from Crest, dreamed of owning a spaceship, didn't know that dream would never happen in Ob space. Beyond being the mouthpiece and leader of the group, not much else stands out to me about her. And our last character, Sloof. And lastly, we have Klowal's imprisoned dad, who really didn't didn't show much emotion for his son getting killed. Beyond that, though, he was a wise character that felt like he inspired Jinto. For some reason, I thought he would go on to be a character that would continue, but that was before Banner 1 completely upended my expectations for the show. There is one other thing that I would like to do here, and hopefully I didn't ruin everything. You might wonder what this little monolith here is in the middle of the screen. Instead of doing a character ranking, I thought instead I was going to rank the seasons. Because I feel like every season had its good episodes and bad episodes, but overall, different seasons had a better balance, or a better expectation, or a better feel to them, let's say. Now, I didn't write these out like I wrote the other ones, so these are really off the top of my head. But I think everyone's going to know what my bottom one is, so let's go ahead and just lift this up, and boom. Banner of the Stars, Season 2. The thing is that Crest of the Stars was so good. It met all of my expectations, and Banner of the Stars is the first season that crushes those expectations and gives me Legend of the Galactic Heroes. That's not an insult. I love Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I guess my thing is that Legend of the Galactic Heroes does Legends of the Galactic Heroes better than Banner of the Stars does Legend of the Galactic Heroes. It also introduced me to a lot of characters that I didn't like the brothers, and it turned Dusanyu into a character I didn't like, and his weird thing about were you like in love with one of the brothers? And I think mostly is that it took away from the journey of Jinto and Lafiel from people that are discovering the world and their place in it and one another into just two people aboard a ship that can't really have much personal interaction with the stuff going on around them when they're in the middle of a big fight. Either way, Banner of the Stars is the least fun I had in this whole series. So I hope any of you that watched that part of the reaction, you got through it with me, or maybe you bailed on it with me. I don't know. I apologize for it. I think it was the worst. Next up, Banner of the Stars 2. The thing is, I don't know how to talk about this. Banner of the Stars 2 was really good. I know I only had like negative things to say about Banner of the Stars 1, but Banner of the Stars 2, it was the only negative thing I have to say about Banner of the Stars 2 is that it took Jinto and removed him from Lafiel and turned it into Lafiel pining for Jinto and regretting her choice to let him go by himself, and then Jinto having to deal with a lot of problems on his own. And I really enjoyed Jinto dealing with these problems on his own because they were made really interesting. The things I didn't like about Banner of the Stars 1 was the lack of interpersonal character dynamics. And Banner of the Stars 2 was all about these new characters having interpersonal dynamics with Jinto and arguing with one another. And that was really interesting and really fun. And I really liked that. So the difference here is I think if you put Banner of the Stars at the bottom of the list, it's not even close. Banner of the Stars 1 was just so bad for me, but Banner of the Stars 2 was so much better. And it's not like I'm saying it was great. Like, I wish it was more Crest of the Stars, but Banner of the Stars 2 is more like Crest of the Stars than Banner of the Stars was. Banner of the Stars 1 versus Banner of the Stars 2. I realize I just keep saying Banner of the Stars. It's very confusing about which one I'm talking about. But moving up, obviously Banner of the Stars 3 is a hard pull to say it's the second best because it's only 2 episodes. Technically, you could say it's 3 episodes because the second episode's double length. I really liked it because it felt like the payoff of Crest of the Stars. Or technically, it's the payoff of everything. All the people that we met along the way come back because literally the first episode's like reunion. And we go back to the Hyde system. It's full wraparound. You know that George Lucas quote that it's poetry, it rhymes. Well, this is the rhyme to Crest of the Stars. The shortness of it is probably a benefit in that it doesn't get a chance to fail. And again, the fact that we brought back Dorin Ku, that guy I've been talking about forever. We brought back the girls from the Baron's estate. I guess we could have brought back the hostage takers, and if we did and I missed them, I apologize. But yeah, it was the payoff. I could make an argument about switching up Banner of the Stars 3 and Banner of the Stars 2. Again, I think it's the shortness of Banner of the Stars 3 that makes it unarguably better. The lack of ability to fail is an improvement. And obviously, if we get rid of this black square here, Crest of the Stars was obviously the best of them all. Which is where my problem with Banner of the Stars 1 comes around, right? You could look at each one of these and say how much percentage Crest of the Stars are they. Crest of the Stars is 100% Crest of the Stars. Banner of the Stars 3, 75% Crest of the Stars, right? It's not about this big galaxy-wide spanning conflict, except for like the forming of the fleets. It's more about the interpersonal relationships between the characters. It has more in common with Crest of the Stars than not. Banner of the Stars 2 is also more about the interpersonal relationships, but the dynamic of the politics of the galaxy come into play again more so. I guess if you looked at this, you could see it as being the higher up you go, the more it is about character relationships. The further down you go, the more it is about politics. And it's that variance in between them all is what I was looking for in the show. I think mostly because that's what I was sold on it for. More about the ground level people than it is wide galaxy spanning politics. Something I didn't add on here. Passage of the Stars. It's only one episode, and by the time I've done this, I meant to do this first and then watch Passage of the Stars afterwards, but I got so flustered in all the times that I've messed up this edit that I've actually went on and watched Passage of the Stars. Where would I put that now here in the After Effect? I would probably, you know what, I in fact would not put it on here at all. And I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I love Passage of the Stars. I would just say Passage of the Stars is an addendum to Crest of the Stars. If you watch that reaction, I literally say you should watch episode 1 of Crest of the Stars, then Passage of the Stars, and then 3 onwards of Crest of the Stars. It fits right into that story. I don't even know why it was made solo. I know why people told me because of the one spoiler that's in there, but literally I guessed that when I was watching the other episodes anyway. Anyway, Passage of the Stars / Crest of the Stars #1. So yeah, that has been my ranking. That is everything in this series. Of course, hit me up on the Discord, hit me up on the comment section, anywhere you can find me if they make more of this. Also hit me up those places if you want to tell me how wrong I am or something that I missed. Because unfortunately it is the case with these things. If I missed it, then it's really hard for me to find out that I've missed anything. Of course, I'm always monitoring the messages everywhere. If you post something about the very first shows that we've ever watched here on the YouTube, I'll still see them, and I'll still read them. So drop me a line if I missed anything, but more importantly, drop me a line if they ever make more of this. There are shows that are getting remade after like 30 years of nothing, so it's not impossible. So I thank you once again for the last time in this series for joining me. I've been Theta. This has been Crest of the Stars / Banner of the Stars, and now I'm feeling kind of sad because I know I'm never going to see these characters again, and that's the thing that I keep saying. Oh well, I'll deal with this. You'll see me on Discord being sad after this. Otherwise, I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?